big business. Hit 10, but that's big pimpin'. My potential, that's infinite. Pin game insane. Make hits like King Griffin, a 10th inning.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 9 of the 10th Inning Podcast. There's Kershaw.
We're on the beach right now.
Dan is on the beach. What beach you at right now?
Oh, right now this is we are on some beach in Miller Place. That's where we're at.
That's a great beach.
I'm on vacation right now. It's the off season. After a hard season of work, Sean, we like to get out and just take a break.
You got to do that. You got to enjoy yourself. Enjoy the fruits of your labor.
Oh yeah.
But off season where you work and where you get ahead of everybody else who doesn't work. So
listen, I'm taking my 1 week after the World Series. Jesus Christ, Sean, I can't have a break.
I'm not ripping you. I'm just saying that we're getting our work in.
Never stop grinding over here.
Never stop grinding. And a wise man once said those words.
That's right. So
in our first installment, our first episode post-season here, or post-season, I guess off-season is the correct term. I'm trying to confuse people. We have a lot of, as we said in the end of last episode, we have a lot of interesting things coming towards you. You know, this a lot of cool little features, games, whatever you want to call it. We have a very fun-filled off-season coming your way. And to start it out, we made a list, some longer than others, of best free agents available at each position, who we think's the best, as I just said. I don't know, I repeated that, and also the most underrated. So,
just to be frank here, that was the direction outlaid for us to do. We were supposed to do best at each position and then most underrated. Certain people might have followed those directions, and certain people might have deviated. So you might get like a top 10 list out of somebody, which would be obviously clearly not in the directions.
Someone just maybe went above and beyond and wanted to, really give the listeners and the viewers a, in-depth review. Others may have not,
Others may have not. That is
let's just jump right in. Why not, right?
Why not?
All right. So let's start starting pitching. That
No.
sound good? No?
Nope.
All right. Well,
I want to start a catcher. That's where I want to start.
The best position in all of baseball currently.
That's right. We got to get the people excited. This is the most exciting position.
Do you want to give us your top catching free agent?
Of course. I mean, how could you choose? There's just so many to choose from this year. It's just jam-packed with talent. Really.
It really is.
After a lot of deliberation, I went with catcher Yan Gomes. Okay, and let me tell you why.
All right.
276 batting average this past year, 280 the year before. Expected batting average, I'm sorry, not actual batting average. So his expecting batting average was 276 and 280, which took a hike from what it was previously in the low twos. So he's gotten into a little bit of bad luck the last 2 years. I know some people believe that, some people don't, but he's hitting a lot better the last 2 years. Pop time was sub 2 seconds when it was last tracked in 2019. So defensively, he's more than good enough. He's been really solid with every pitching staff he's been with. And I think the offense, I think he has a tiny, and when I say breakout, I mean for a catcher and for Yan Gomes, tiny bit of a breakout season upcoming this year.
Well, I may have came with the list, but you certainly came with the in-depth stats. Just for full disclosure, we did not talk about our list prior to this at all, so we're finding out about these at the exact moment. And with all that being said, I also picked Yan Gomes as my best available catching free agent.
I won't go first anymore, guys. Don't worry. Yeah, he's just going to cheat off me the whole time.
Yeah. But my most underrated, since you already gave Yan Gomes beautiful, speech, Martin Maldonado. Not known for his offensive skills whatsoever, but starting catcher on the past 2 years with the Astros. He's been there for a while. I don't have these stats like Dan. I'm not Mr. Statman here, but outstanding defensive catcher. And that's about all you can say. But that kind of tells you the state of the free agent catching market in Major League Baseball in 2021. Martin Maldonado, underrated, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's back with the Astros.
I like it. Love to hear it. My most underrated catcher also went the same route you did. After Yan Gomes, the offense definitely falls off, and even Yan Gomes is a stretch.
Yeah.
My defensive guy ended up being Manny Pena. He had there's a little bit of offensive glimmer. Again, I believe in BABIP. Some people don't like it. Some people have different opinions. He had a 162 BABIP last year, which was, I mean, that's just putrid. His expecting batting average was about almost 220. So although 220 isn't great, it's also, 50, 60 points higher than what his, his BABIP was. But defensively now, which is why I thought that he could be underrated, 49% strike rate on pitches just off the corner. Pretty good. One of the tops in baseball last year. And he had 3 runs saved from extra strike calls. And that was tied for 12th in the league. Doesn't sound too high, but catcher's platoon, first off, and secondly, that was the best out of free agent catchers. 3 runs saved from getting extra strike calls. How they calculate that, don't ask me, but that's how it goes.
I have a question for you. Where are you finding these stats? These are just fantastic stats, by the way.
I use a combination of MLB.com, which people hate on as well. A lot of people hate the things I do, Sean.
People love to hate things,
That's it. And Baseball Savant. Baseball Savant is the main culprit for many of the advanced stats, especially fielding stuff and rankings.
Well, those are beautiful stats. I didn't even know that was the whole, strike off the plate type thing.
It's nice. It gives you a little outline of the plate.
Yeah.
The strike zone, 3-dimensional, and then the slivers right on each side, and shows you like hot zones, like you would look for a hitter, like how good he is at hitting certain pitches, how good they are at getting certain calls. Like some catchers are better at getting the inside pitch than the outside pitch based on their framing or their footwork. So it is kind of interesting. So hit up Baseball Savant, not a sponsor.
That is fantastic. So got catcher. Where do you want to go next on the field?
I'm going to first base. I like to go around like that. That's how I do at least when I do fantasy rankings. That's how I do my thing.
I appreciate that. First base, a little more loaded than catchers. Might be going out on a limb there saying that, but a little bit better. Do you want to start or do you want me to start here?
I don't want you to look like you're taking away answers again. I'll let you start. I think there's a pretty obvious one here.
I made a list here because I went above and beyond. I'll just run down my list starting from best to not worst, but lowest in my opinion. First has got to be Freddie Freeman. The fact he's not signed is just absolutely asinine. Below him, I have Brandon Belt, then Anthony Rizzo, and this is where it falls off. We got Mitch Moreland, Travis Shaw, and Greg Bird.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm going Freddie with that goes without saying. Freddie Freeman, the best first baseman in baseball, I'd have to say. That's my guy.
Now, tell me why the great Greg Bird made the list. Okay, what does he have to offer here in 2021 to make your list?
Well, as you were using your site, I use Spot Track. So they had a broke down list by position, free agents. And he was on the list, which surprised me. But I watched a fair amount of Yankee games, obviously, being in the New York area. But I also watched a lot of Yankee playoff games with you, 2017. I know that he's always had a lot of potential. He's just had some really bad luck with injuries. He had like a bone spur in his foot a few times. Okay. He has a lot of potential, and also the first base market is kind of thin this winter. But Greg Bird is a guy I put on the list just because potential, essentially. He may be the Jerkson Profar of first baseman free agents. That's at least what I went with. He's got a lot of pop. Yeah.
I like that. I love that a lot.
Yeah.
Now, is there any other name you felt like you needed to highlight on there, or was it just Freddie and then the rest is just down?
Brandon Belt, I had him as number 2, ahead of Anthony Rizzo. Brandon Belt is a guy that I haven't watched a ton of, being on the West Coast and everything. But I think he's kind of an underrated player. You may disagree. He's a San Francisco Giant, so I would expect you to have some gripes with him. But Brandon Belt is a guy who I think can, assuming he leaves the Giants, which I don't know if that's going to happen or not, can bring a lot of veteran presence, good defense, and a solid bat. So that's a guy that I put number 2.
I like that. All right. Well, let me give you my opinions here. It's got very similar, unfortunately. Top first baseman in the league, folks. It's Frederick Freeman. Okay, he hit 274 in the first half. Okay, and still finished at 300. So that
Yeah.
doesn't tell you something. Like he also slumped last year.
Yes.
He's one of the best hitters of the generation. He's a perennial MVP candidate, and he's literally been so since 2016. Although he wasn't getting MVP talk in 2016, if you look at his 2016 year, 38 doubles, like 42 doubles, 38 homers, and a 300 average. Like it was literally the same year he would have won with MVP. It's a funny thing in this world. A lot of stuff's about brand. So now his name's thrown in with MVP. If he would have had that year, probably next year he'd probably win MVP. But I think he can almost be the most underrated player too because of how good he actually is.
I think not to cut you off, but I think early in his career he wasn't getting maybe the recognition. It's because his teams were bad.
Exactly.
And even now he's kind of second fiddle to Ronald Acuna Jr. So I agree 100% with what you're saying. Maybe now we'll start to fully embrace his greatness. Sorry to cut you off. I just wanted to let him.
I appreciate it. And in my opinion, I think Acuna's playing second fiddle to him. Although Acuna has more flair and he's more popular, I think Freddie's a better hitter right now. I think Acuna throughout his career will be the better hitter, but right now I still think Freddie's got an edge.
Yeah,
Acuna has a better overall game. He's more flashy. He's got more speed, better defense.
He's more marketable.
More marketable for sure. However, moving on, my most underrated first baseman, I thought I'd be able to sneak away with getting this as underrated, would be Brandon Belt. He was top 5 in the league the last 2 years in barrel percentage. Top 5% in barrel percentage, which is great. 29 bombs last year in less than 100 games.
In San Fran.
In San Fran. 378 OBP the last 3 years. Just solid production. That's almost 400 on base. And top 10 in the league in walk percentage last year at 12%. And the year before that was 16%.
Yeah.
So the guy walked, which is why his OBP is so high. His power has really come to fruition at a late age. And he just makes contact. He makes a lot of hard contact. He asked me 3 years ago, I would have said, how is Brandon Belt still getting playing time?
Yeah.
But he has really blossomed late in his career and turned his career around. And no, I hated him for 90% of his career. But now he can hit.
He's what we would call a baseball player.
Yeah.
He's solid player. And the Giants are really going to need him. They need to keep him in order to have a season. Anything like this year.
100%, yeah.
Interesting. Well, I'll put emphasis on the fact we did not compare lists before. We don't know what each other is saying, but so far we are hitting the nail on the head with copying each other.
Of course.
Yeah, exactly. So, where are we going next?
We'll go to second base next. I can start it out if you like.
Yeah, you can.
Would you like me to give I'll ask you this. Would you like me to give my most underrated or my best first?
Let's go underrated. Let's buck the trend a little bit.
Okay. Most underrated, I'm going to go with my boy Donnie Barrels. Okay, Donovan Solano. We're talking 2019 hit 330. 2020 hit 326. Last year hit 280.
Yeah.
I would not be shocked if he got full playing time. Give the guy a starting job. I understand he's getting older, and he has, other than getting base hits, not a lot of offensive production. His defense is absolutely average, which is fine, by the way. Having an average glove is actually pretty good. It just means, he's not going to win a gold glove anytime soon. But I think he could possibly compete for a batting title if he were to be given a full leash. He's like a David Fletcher type guy, but David Fletcher plays in LA, so people like him more. But Donnie Barrels, man, he hits. Doesn't strike out, and he hits, and I like that.
He's been around for a while, too. He came up with the Marlins, I believe.
That's right. I can't confirm he came up with the Marlins. No, he played for them. I know he's been around a while, but I don't want to. You know what? I'm going to look up for you right now, Sean, because I don't want you to.
Just tell me how bad I am at knowledge, baseball knowledge. I can't wait.
Give me your underrated while I look this up.
Underrated. I have two. One's kind of a sentimental pick, I guess, in a sense. And that will be Asdrubal Cabrera. I love Asdrubal Cabrera. He was on the Mets. He was a great player, still kicking. more than still kicking, still flying. He's a great player. One of the smartest base runners you will ever see. Not a fast guy, but he's smart on the base paths. Also a very underrated defender. Can play shortstop, third base, and second base. We have him here at second base. He's kind of moved there later in his career because his range has decreased a little bit. Clutch hitter, World Series champion with the Nationals a few years ago. Really good player. And my other underrated player, also ex-Met, but rather unceremoniously ex-Met, Jed Lowry. So he had 2 lost years with the Mets. It was kind of a weird situation. I think he had 9 at-bats in 2 years, all pinch hitting at-bats. I don't think he got a hit. But had a bounce back year with the A's this year. I don't have the stats right in front of me. I'm not a stat guy like Dan here. But he had very much a bounce back year, and I wouldn't be surprised if the A's bring him back because he seems to do better with the A's than any other team. Those would be my 2 guys that are underrated at the second base position.
I love that. I like that a lot out of you. I like that a lot for you. I actually had a second player that I had as most underrated that was different than yours. So we have 4 different underrated players, which I like to see.
Wow.
A little diversity here. I don't know if underrated in a sense. I kind of feel for this guy. I don't want the MLB's trend to affect him, and I feel like it did. Cesar Hernandez. Okay?
I had him on my list, yeah.
His career, 340 BABIP fell to 266 last year. Why I think that happened, I think he changed his approach to the plate. His home runs and his strikeouts increased, which those are almost directly correlated in today's game.
Yeah.
But his doubles, his average, his on-base percentage, and his walks all went down. I rather him to stop trying to be the hitter that he's trying to be, because the hitter that he was very productive.
Yeah.
If giving up a 280 average and a 350 OBP means that you can get to 20 home runs instead of 10, I don't think 20 home runs is enough to justify changing his style of play. Additionally, he's 89th percentile in sprint speed last year and only 2 stolen base attempts. He's trying to be some kind of slugger.
Yeah.
And it's like, bro, even if you gave up your ability to hit for average, you're hitting 20 bombs. That's not going to work. Now you're just a worse player. You're versatile defensively. You can hit 280. You can get on base. You could probably run with your legs.
Yeah.
You're a 30 double guy, and you just want to hit 20 bombs. So I feel like it could be somewhat of a lost year. Still a decent year for him. But if he comes back and goes back to his old approach, I think that he could have a lot of success that way. He's the kind of guy I would love to see the Yankees bring into their organization. A lefty guy, he could probably hit like Didi. He could probably hit 20 home runs there while keeping his old habits, his old approach, and then he could be almost damn near an all-star type player.
Yeah.
But the Yankees don't really think like that. Go for it.
If I just want to finish up with him. I know when he came up with the Phillies, he was kind of a highly touted prospect, at least in their farm system. I was there for a while, I think 4 or 5 years. But he's kind of worked himself to have a nice career. He was, like we said, hopefully the game isn't forcing players to change the way they play. I really hate that. Any sport, the game dictates how a player plays, how their career, goes from one thing to another. I'm not a huge fan of that. Also, if I told you he's in the league for 9 years before looking up his stats, would you believe me?
No, not 9 years.
It's a long time.
It's not a short time, Sean. I can tell you it's not.
No, not at all. 31 years old.
And God bless his soul.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, so where are we moving next here, King?
Well, Sean, I got to be frank with you. Neither of us have given our best second baseman. We gave 4 underrated second basemen.
We did. My apologies.
And you know what I think that means? It's because, honestly, the best second baseman, frankly, has been underrated his whole career. So maybe there's a little bit of a reason behind that. Why don't you tell the fans about Marcus Semien? Because I know you took a look at my list.
I actually didn't. I actually had Chris Taylor as my best baseman. I hate Chrissy T.
Chrissy T.
I mean, need we say more? Also, I had Marcus Semien more the shortstop position than second base.
Okay. All right, well, I guess we'll have another different guy.
I had to kind of make a decision. Also, Chris Taylor can play about every other position on the field, so I kind of pick and choose.
Yeah.
Chris Taylor, I mean, the guy's a stud. He's clutch. Underrated, absolutely. I mean, you were talking about Marcus Semien, but I think the same applies for Chris Taylor. Underrated. The guy came out of nowhere. Typical LA Dodger player. Get him from scrap heap. But a very underrated player, clutch, as we said before, and one of your favorites. I know that. And the Dodgers, they got to bring it back. Come on.
I will cry. I can promise you that. I will cry if they do not bring Chrissy T back.
We don't want to see that.
No, you don't want to see that. I can promise you that.
No.
No.
So, based off what you said, Marcus Semien is your best second baseman, I assume.
He is. I thought you were cheating a little bit. I've come to the realization that you have not been cheating this whole time.
No, honest, didn't cheat.
Which I appreciate. So, given that, I will explain to you guys why I think Marcus Semien is the best second baseman. Probably most of which because I think Marcus Semien is a second baseman rather than a shortstop. Like Sean said, here's the thing. The guy plays every day. He had 162 this year. Obviously, 2020 was a shortened season. The year before that, played 162. The year before that, played 159. Okay, he's on the field, which is one of the biggest aspects in our game today, with a lot of players not doing that. With the balls, we don't know if they're being juiced or not juiced anymore. Power output went up, not down. We're talking from 33 to 45 now. Like now, it's getting a little bit crazy. I think you can throw out 2020. I drafted him in fantasy, and I think that had a lot to do with his detriment. You know, that it messes with a guy's mind. It really does. I was all in after his 2019 season. Drafted him, just fell flat on his face. Stayed away from him this year, and he really blossomed. I'm going to do that for him next year. So if you're out there in fantasy world, don't worry about it. I'm going to steer clear of him. I will not do that to his career. His strikeout rate increased and his walk rate decreased, which I don't like to see. Again, I think that correlates to those 15 or so extra homers or 10 or so extra homers. But he's an MVP candidate last 2 out of 3 years. It's so weird to say about Marcus Semien. You know what I mean? But it's the case. So, I mean, underrated in a sense, just because the name brand still isn't there because he hasn't played in like crazy cities, but absolute stud.
I couldn't put it any better myself. Absolute stud.
Now I'm going third base. I go third base before shortstop.
I was about to ask, do we go to loaded shortstop? I feel like we should save shortstop till the end.
We can go last. I feel like it's a pretty obvious answer. Shortstop is
I mean, you were gonna agree on that one. But yeah, so you want to hop over to the hot corner?
Hop over to the hot.
Okay.
You give me.
All right.
I want you to give me the whole rundown.
The whole rundown. See.
Everything you got to say.
Well, I feel it's pretty top heavy. I'll give you my whole list. This is again according to Spot Tracker. I at least have these names of these players from Spot Tracker. I made the list on my own. So I'm going to start from the top. Chris Bryant. I know he plays a lot of other positions, but I have him as a primary third baseman. He's my top free agent on third base. Then from there, it gets interesting. We got Kyle Seager, brother of Corey. Then Eduardo Escobar. Now, this next guy might just be because I name brand. I have memories of him being good. Matt Carpenter. He's not really much of a great player anymore. Tim Beckham.
Okay.
Brandon Drury.
Okay.
Matt Duffy. And the greatest of all on this list, none other, from Toms River, New Jersey, Todd Frazier.
Now, would I be wrong to say, Sean, that he made the list simply because it would bother me for you to say his name out loud?
I don't think that ever crossed my mind at all. And the fact that he played in Little League World Series, I believe he won it actually.
Yeah.
I believe he did.
Todd Frazier has been garbage for good of it's got to be 6 years since the guy's been decent. But I appreciate your list. I appreciate it. I guess it's time for me to give my opinions here. I was expecting a guy of your baseball acumen to say Chris Bryant at third base. I really was. And I came prepared for an argument. I did.
All right.
I came prepared.
I love a good argument.
Frankly, I think the best third baseman wasn't in your top 2.
Really?
That's what I'm going with here. I'm going to read you some statistics here, Sean.
Please do. Please do.
Player A, 25 homers, 73 RBIs, 135 strikeouts, 265 average, 353 on base.
Mm.
Player B, 28 bombs, 90 RBIs, 124 strikeouts, 253 average, 314 on base. What player are you signing in free agency this year to help your team win?
I probably would go player B.
By the way, I was not clear. They both play 3 positions. So that doesn't really factor much in, but they both play 3 positions. Yeah. Player B is Eduardo Escobar. Player A is Chris Bryant. Stop sleeping on my guy, Eduardo.
You know, there's more of a track record with Chris Bryant was the reason I went with it. I'm looking – Eduardo Escobar's had some good years. Don't get me wrong. But Chris Bryant has a bigger track record. A longer track record, should I say.
Chris Bryant is hot garbage.
Oh, wow.
Chris Bryant has been overrated since the day he stepped on the playing field. He won the fakest MVP of all time. Eduardo Escobar is a top 2 player in baseball. And everything I believe.
Top 2 player in baseball.
Other than that last statement, I believe everything I've said.
Top 2.
Top 2. Him
I didn't know we had Stephen Smith on here. Jeez.
Darren Ruff. Who else are you going to put above Eduardo Escobar?
Darren Ruff is pretty good.
No, but realistically, yes, Chris Bryant has a little bit more of a track record. I am traditionally very low on Chris Bryant. I do think he's actually been overrated.
I would agree. I think he's been overrated throughout his career. I just think out of this crop of third baseman, he's the better third baseman.
I think for next year, I'm signing Eduardo Escobar.
Okay. I guess I am too because I picked him, but
because I mean we look at last year or last full year, last full year, so 2019. We're talking 94 runs, 29 doubles, 10 triples, 35 homers, 118 RBIs, hitting 269. That sounds damn near MVP. That's Eduardo Escobar. To me, those 2 years back to back in full years. While a guy who also plays multiple positions, which I know is big for Chris Bryant now that he can do that. I think the fact that Chris can play outfield absolutely tremendously skyrockets his value.
Mm-hmm.
But Chris Bryant 2 years ago, 35 doubles, 31 homers, 77 RBIs, 282 average. All I'm saying is I think they are a lot closer of a player than people would imagine.
Yeah, I agree.
Chris Bryant looks better. The optics of Chris Bryant is better.
Well, think of it this way. Chris Bryant was the chosen one. You know, he was there to lead Chicago, the Cubs, from being abysmal for however many years to a World Series. And I agree that the MVP award, I think between him and Andrew McCutchen, those are some 2 pretty soft MVPs in that, span.
Right.
So yeah, he has the box office value. And plus he played for Chicago and Eduardo Escobar played for the Diamondbacks. So yeah, I agree with what you're saying on a lot of fronts. I just think I'm big on the track record, I guess, is what it comes down to.
And I'm just saying I'm giving my guy Eduardo Escobar his due because no one else out here is standing up for him.
Someone's got to do it.
Someone's got to do it, Sean.
The jersey will be coming from Eduardo Escobar signed to Dan.
More homers and RBIs than Bryant the last 2 full seasons. Eduardo Escobar for MVP. Now, my most underrated third baseman is Starlin Castro.
Whoa, okay.
Little Starlin Castro.
He's suspended, isn't he, or is he back?
He got suspended in July. I don't know when he comes back. Whenever he comes back, on his own time. Yeah. He is a free agent, though, and you're going to see this is my, I guess, kind of my MO for underrated guys. It's just guys that I feel like could come in, platoon. I do think Donnie Barrels could take a starting job, but I mean these kind of guys that they just hit.
Yeah.
Castro hit 280 last year, and he's a fantastic platoon option. He had 349 with a 382 on base percentage in 46 games against lefties. So if you just have this guy on the bench against lefties, you got a guy that's getting on base 40% of the time, hitting 350. You know, I don't know if that's going to play out over. I mean, how many more games against lefties are you going to have other than 46 games? I feel like that's more than a good enough sample size to understand the guy can hit lefties. And as a third baseman, decent hands, used to play short. Obviously, we all know that. He's got soft hands. I think he can be somewhat of a clubhouse leader. He's been on a lot of winning ball clubs, a lot of losing ball clubs. And been in a lot of environments. I like Starlin Castro he's a nice key bench piece on your team.
I like that. I mean, to go off on my, podium of track record, he has a good track record. He's hit everywhere he's been. And he's just a good player. Unfortunately, he had an off the field issue this year, but on the field, he's a solid player.
Yeah, I like that. Where do you want to go now, Sean? Because
I think we leave shortstop till actually.
Okay.
We'll leave shortstop for last. We'll shoot shortstop for last. Do you want to go out to right field?
We can go to right field.
To the outfield?
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to start off out there? You want me to start off?
I can start out if that's how you need it to go.
Go for it. Go for it. We might have. I have a feeling we have a very similar, if not the same list. There's not a heck of a lot of outfielders, especially right fielders.
Right.
Go ahead.
Right field, I have Nick Castellanos, the best right fielder.
As did I. I had a feeling that was going to be the same.
I was actually pretty high on Nick coming into this year as far as doing my fantasy research. All the advanced numbers showed that he was ready to pop off. He hits the ball extremely hard. I think he's found a better home in right field. He's still not a good defender, but he's not as bad as he was at third base, thank God. I think he's a future DH for sure, but he's like JD Martinez 2.0. They almost look the same. They feel like the same player to me, where he'll end up being a DH, but like the guy can match, so it'll work out for him. And maybe with DH coming into both leagues, possibly, I think he can even be a really good fit for a National League team that's looking for some more offensive production now because they're going to have a DH. Yeah,
I agree. I also benefit from playing in Cincinnati. Great American Ballpark is very much a hitter's ballpark. But yeah, he's I feel like he's always been underrated. He was on the Tigers. He was underrated there too. He's moved on, to the Reds. He also has that swagger too. He's a good player, and he'll let you know about it, which honestly what baseball needs more of. He's got that box office value. I keep saying that, but if he goes to a big market, like let's say one of the New York teams or LA, not to say they need him or he's going to sign there, but just like, for example, he would do really, really well. Hit some great fly balls to left field. I keep bringing that up, but I mean, that's just a career just moment right there. But in all seriousness, I had him as my best right fielder. Now, do you want me to give you my most rated or whatever you would like to call it? See, this one, I just know it's going to happen. I've seen it happen so many times before to me. But Michael Conforto, guy had a really difficult year last year, was injured a lot, never could really get going. He's kind of just been, ever since he was drafted in 2014 out of Oregon State, he kind of was tabbed the next David Wright, per se, for Mets fans at least, next guy for face of the franchise. Never really worked out. Put up some really good offensive years. Solid defender, great arm. Actually, underrated defender, in my opinion. Timeout.
What do you mean? What do you mean it hasn't worked out? He's like a top 5 hitter in baseball. He's worth like $30 million a year. Haven't you heard? Haven't you heard? He's got to get a huge payday this season. He's one of the greatest players of our generation, Michael Conforto. You must not be a Mets fan. You must not have heard. Michael Conforto's the next thing. He's
okay, Scott Boras. Okay, all right. Anyway, back to what I was saying. He may not be your prototypical underrated player, but he is someone that has never really lived up to the expectations, and because of that, people don't realize how good he is. Very handsome man too, if I'm being honest.
Good looking.
Yeah. Anyways, Scott Bort's going to get him paid beautifully this winter, and he's just going to torment the Mets for the rest of his career. I know that. It doesn't take a genius to figure that one out. And yeah, he's my underrated or under talked about right fielder.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like that.
it hurt. I know it's going to hurt. But.
I am going to go with a guy by the name of George. Some people call him Jorge. Last name Soler. 2019. I mean, the guy hit 48 bombs, 117 RBIs, and he did it with a good clip too at 354 on base percentage. He was getting on base. He was walking. He was hitting. Damn near. It was in the MVP race that year. If the Royals weren't, as ass as they were. A little bit of a down year, 2020 and somewhat in 2021, but I mean, a very weird couple of years. I'm really not thinking about that. Talk about track record. He has none other than that year though. But I think he comes back and wherever team he signs with, if he gets full playing time, I think we could see a little bounce back here. I'm looking for like 30 to 35 homers at him, hitting 250 plus, and there's a good offensive production.
Yeah. I'd say he's like your model current day baseball player.
Yeah.
Strikes out a lot, hits a lot of home runs, hits about 250. You know what you're going to get. I just feel like that's the kind of player who is, 2021 type player.
Yep.
So I like that call a lot. I actually had him at a different position, which we'll come across later. Let's move over to center field, one of the most important positions in baseball.
That's right.
You wanna take this, or you want me to take it?
I want you to take this right now. I'm not comfortable.
Okay. Well, do you want me to run down the list, or you want me to just give you?
I want you to run down the list. I need
No,
a second
all right.
to breathe.
So, starting, the first person on my list is Starling Marte. Great player.
He's all right.
He had a home run in his first ever at bat.
I watched it and called it. One of my greatest baseball moments of my life.
And also, that was the night Matt Harvey made his debut for the Mets. All happened on the same day. But from there, then we go Starling Marte to Odubel Herrera, another ex-Philly.
Doobs.
Then Kevin Pillar. It falls off quick, folks. It really does. A warrior, absolute warrior. He's a real baseball player. Took a beating off the ball off the face. Warrior, didn't complain. Then from there, we go to Juan Lagares. Great defender. Laggy is a great defender. My brother has a jersey of Juan Lagares to show you how we expected him to be better. Great defender, though. Cannot deny that. Then this is a real stretch. Delino DeShields, a junior. I like him as a player. He's got a lot of speed. I feel like he just hasn't really had the offensive abilities to show yet in the majors. And then this last guy, this is for I don't know, for a good laugh, at least between Dan and I. Gerard Carmichael Dyson.
Ooh, Gerard Carmichael. We're talking about one of the best base stealers of all time. Highlight of my life. I have somewhere in my snap memories, probably 7 years ago, me watching Gerard Carmichael steal second base. Oh my God. That's all I ever wanted to see was Gerard steal a base in person. First the Mets. Yeah. Better than seeing Trout hit a homer. 100%. I was going nuts.
Gerard Dyson is just amazing. I
love that guy. One of my favorite players. For some reason, I couldn't tell you why. Just a fun guy to watch.
Speed
kills.
It does. That's my list.
What you said?
Said that's my list.
I love it.
Thank you.
I followed directions, so I only have 2 players to give for you today. And I really only have one, to be honest with you. I want to shout out Marte because Starling Marte, really great player. A lot of people thought he was going to start to, on the downtrend, and because in 2020 he didn't look great. But 47 bags again last year, OBP almost at 400. Never hit a lot of homers, but I mean, really had like a little bit of a revitalization last year. Always been like an all-star caliber player, but last year he really he came back, which was great to see. But I really think there is a new best center fielder free agent other than Marte, and that's because we have this guy at a different position. But folks, Chris Taylor's going to top the list at 2 separate positions today, and he hasn't
He is.
started yet. So Chrissy T, okay, Chrissy T. My God, you give him full at bats. Give my man full at bats. He's going to hit 265 to 275 for you with 25 bombs. If you told me at the end of next year Chris Taylor popped 30 bombs, I wouldn't say anything to you. I wouldn't say a word.
Yeah.
And I don't care if he hits 200 with 0 homers. Get this man into the postseason. Okay? That has to count for something. One of the most clutch players I've ever seen. Defensive versatility, like, insane. He is elite, not like average or okay. He is elite second baseman. He's an elite left fielder. He's a very good center fielder. He can play third base. He can play shortstop. Believe it or not, that's his natural position. I think it's one of his weakest at this point. Okay? The guy can play everywhere but first and catcher. He's just Chrissy T.
Yeah.
That's why there's a lot of bias there, but I feel this way this year like I did about Jock last year. If Chrissy T leaves, I'm the same way I felt about Keek. If Chrissy T leaves, I'm excited to see what he can do with what he deserves, which is full playing time. And he got very close to that this year with the Dodgers. Not going to say he didn't. But just, I don't know. It's not like I want to see him have a job, like with a position, because I think a lot of his value comes in his versatility.
Yeah.
But nothing over his head where it's like Gavin Lux, this, that. I do want him to be a Dodger, but I'm just saying in the event that he's not, I think he's really going to blossom either way.
Very eloquently put. I did not expect anything less. I knew you're going Chris Taylor. But yeah, he's going to get paid.
I can't wait. I can't wait for him.
We'll see who it is. You want to shift over to left?
That sounds good. I can take this one first.
All right, go right ahead.
So I think the best left fielder this year is Eddie Rosario. I'm not going to make any further comment. Pay this man. I want him to have a multi-year contract. Forget what he did in the playoffs. He's been good in the regular season for the last 4 years. I don't care if you don't even care what he did then. Pay the man 15 to 20 million over at least 4 years now. Please and thank you. End of story. Eddie Rosario, one of the better players in our game. Underrated. I'm going to quickly shout out Jock. My opinion is the best pure power in the entire league. Okay, just insane. Want to see him in a home run derby again. One of the greatest moments in home run derby history. Him versus Vladdy, back and forth. That was really fun.
Yeah.
But my real underrated left fielder is going to be Mark Canha out of Oakland. Believe it or not, 4.3 WAR last year. I know different opinions on WAR, like a lot of stats, but that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Led free agent left fielders by a wide margin. That's damn near all-star type level. And he had somewhat of a down year if you look at his stats for his own offensive profile. But 91% chase rate is 91 percentile, not rate. So he does not chase as good as 91% of the league. So the guy only swings at strikes. And let me tell you, that's very helpful when you're playing in Major League Baseball. We have all these people with these spin rates going crazy. 1 second it's in the zone, the next second it's out of it. So that having a good eye like that obviously leads to a lot of success. And he's a decent fielder too, even though he does not look.
Yeah. Oh, hey, it's all about how you do. You know, if looks are only half the battle, honestly.
That's it. And thank God for that.
Yeah. All right, so I'll run down my list of players. We had some very similar lists, I think. Kyle Schwarber, I have him as my best left fielder.
Okay.
I know people could have him as a DH or a first baseman, but I just had him in left field. He's a miserable fielder. I will say that. But I just needed a position for him. I had him in left field. Spotrac had him in left field. A few other sites I looked at had him in left field, which was a bit surprising to me. But yeah, so he's my best left fielder. Then from there it goes Tommy Pham. Then Eddie Rosario, Jock Peterson, Corey Dickerson, and Mark Canha.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have Schwarber as my number one out left fielder. And then as far as underrated goes Corey Dickerson. This man hasn't gotten a fair shake. Let's go back to the stats here. I actually have his stats pulled up. So in 2017, I know we're going back a little bit with Tampa Bay Rays, he hit 282. Struck out 134 times. That's a lot of strikeouts. 62 RBIs, 27 home runs in 150 games, which is about 629 at-bats. All right. So what happens to him? He gets DFA'd by the Tampa Bay Rays. Does that make sense? No. Do the Tampa Bay Rays make sense? Absolutely not. Never do, never will. So from there, he bounced around a bit. Pittsburgh. All right, so the next year with Pittsburgh, hits 300. All right, 55 RBIs, 13 home runs. Strikeouts go up to 152. I know that was, 2018, and that's years away. He's been on a lot of teams since then. Pittsburgh, Philly, Miami, and then Toronto. But even though he's moved around quite a bit, he has hit 304, 315, 293, 271, 263, and then last year, 282.
Wow.
We're talking about the game kind of shifting a little bit. He strikes out a lot. Doesn't have a ton of pop, so that's kind of an issue. But hits for an average, and he's a player who I think just always gets overlooked. I don't know why. I still remember when he got DFA'd by Tampa Bay, and I didn't understand that, as did a lot of other people didn't understand it. But I think he kind of gets overlooked. So he's my underrated guy, Corey Dickerson. And he'll probably most likely sign a one-year deal type thing. But, yeah, I think he's underrated.
I like that. I like that a lot. A couple things just popped to my mind. First off, I'm a big fan of Corey Dickerson. He actually was the last strikeout in Clayton Kershaw's no-hitter, a little slider away to him with the Rockies. So huge fan of the man.
Yeah.
And while you were saying that, I was very intrigued by his stats. Didn't know this about Corey Dickerson. But what I will say is maybe once all these guys are finally signed at the end of the year, what we can do is we can take their contracts and give ourselves a budget and be little GMs. Who can build a better roster, with $50 million, for the 2022 season, because we can scoop up a guy like that for maybe a couple mil based on what he gets paid.
Minimum.
Yeah. So that could be something interesting we do. Just another thought.
Yeah. It's just I've always liked him.
I like that. So are we going to pitchers, Sean? Are we finally giving into the tees and giving the shortstops?
I think we go relief pitchers / closers.
Okay, I like that. You want to start? Or you want me to go?
Yeah. Let me start. I have relief pitchers and closers, and it's two separate categories. So I'll start with relief pitchers if that works for you.
Works for me.
Now this top one, my first guy on the list. Everybody's gonna say, yeah, he's biased. He played for the Mets last year, but no, this man had an outstanding season. Played for Tampa Bay last year, 2 years ago. You know how Tampa Bay is. They kind of keep their players and dump them, as we just talked about with Corey Dickerson. But the guy I'm talking about, probably very little known, Aaron Loup, lefty, pitched. I have the stats up here. Actually, pitched in innings pitched 56 2/3. So he's not going to go out there every single day and throw an inning. He comes in for the lefties and is the nowadays versions of a lefty specialist with a 3-batter minimum, but had a .95 ERA. All right. Need I say more? 0.95 ERA, was extremely effective. He's my number one guy from the relief pitching market. Again, not including closers. And then from there, I goes to Colin McHugh, Andrew Chafin, Corey Knebel, your guy, and Joe Kelly, also an ex-Dodger. There wasn't a whole lot of guys on the free agent list as far as relief pitchers go that kind of struck me as great and all. I don't really know anybody on that list is underrated. I guess it'd be Colin McHugh, another ex-Met, ironically enough. But that's my list. Aaron Loup, sign that man.
I like that. And I feel like I've said that 10, 15 times at this point, but I really do like your lists. I think you're doing a very good job with it. I will go to my relief pitchers, and I think you're going to like my first one here, Sean. I got a little bit of a list here. I do. I went a little Bucky with the relief pitchers.
I appreciate that.
Dellin Betances, folks.
Oh, yeah.
I know this isn't good. I know.
Didn't pitch much for the Mets, I'll tell you that.
Listen, it's the Mets effect, okay? Every year he's not pitched for the Mets, he's been great. Every year he's been on the Mets, he basically hasn't pitched because he's been unhealthy. But that's what the Mets do to pitchers. We all know this. Prior to being on the Mets, he was one of the best relievers in the game. And it's not like he's pitched poorly since then. He has not pitched. So,
No, barely.
if he comes back this season and is healthy, no one's really talking about him. I think you probably scoop him up for really cheap. Last year, he pitched with the Yankees. He was, damn near closer type stuff. I mean, guy's electric on the mound. I know a lot more people throw 100 now than even in 2019 when he last pitched. But I think he could be really, really effective. He's still not that crazy old. He's like 34.
Yeah, as long as he's not thrown to a base, he's good.
And not home. Anything but home.
He'll throw it on top of the screen. Nothing better than that.
Not home. Another guy I want to shout out, Yusmeiro Petit. Guy's got a rubber arm. Last couple of years, 91 innings pitched, 93 innings pitched, 83 innings pitched, 78 innings pitched. I skipped the 2020 year, which he damn near had what would have been another 90 innings pitched here if it went full. And by the way, one start over those 4 years, by the way. So he's not picking up starter innings. He just is just out there. Like almost every day, he just runs out there and pitches, which is extremely useful. And if someone could use that kind of arm in the postseason. Chaz Rowe, okay, filthiest slider in the game. I'd like to see him do something with that. I'm going to do a little bit of a share of a screen here, whether you people like it or not.
Other people love it.
We'll see if we can get some Chaz Rowe sliders. Oh. Let's see if we can get one going outside. See if we can get one. Let's see if we can get one from a good angle where it's going away. I mean, it's whiffly. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. It's whiffly. I'd like to see him work on another pitch other than that, and I really feel like he could be crazy effective. I think he has a good year this year. And Darren O'Day. Okay, let's not forget about that. One of my favorite players. A little bias here. But in a game where everyone is throwing 100, everyone out of the pen, right? You throw Darren O'Day in there. Rays like to do this a lot. See, this is a sneaky Rays signing here, mixing visuals and arm slots and speeds. O'Day's coming out low 3/4, damn near submarine.
Yeah.
With movement going the other way to righties, that's really, really tough to hit. I think Darren O'Day plays a very important role in someone's bullpen this year in the bullpen in the postseason. That's my big take.
I've kind of forgotten about Darren O'Day, but yeah, he's got one of the most funky windups or just way he throws that you'll ever see. Very effective in past years, I mean. So, closing position.
Let's go.
All right. I think this one, the first one, is pretty universal. Kenley Jansen. I assume you have him first on the list.
Yeah, I went Kenley. You could have went Raisel Iglesias, though.
I do have him on the list. He is number 3 on my list, actually.
Okay. I'd like to hear number 2.
Trevor Rosenthal.
All right. I hear that.
I also have Joaquin Soria, Brad Hand, and a blast from the past in Mark Melancon.
Don't sleep on Mark there. He's still putting up good years.
Yeah.
I have Kenley as my number 1 as well. I wouldn't have if it wasn't for the second half of last year. Near and dear to my heart for a lot of reasons. One, it's Kenley Jansen. Secondly, he actually, and I'm not a pitcher by any means. I don't want this to come off like I'm a good pitcher. I in my head, I want to be a pitcher. So I throw bullpens with my friends for fun to try and become the best pitcher that I can be at 23 years old, upcoming, for no reason other than to just achieve that goal. And one of my biggest issues over the past year was I used to have very decent control with my fastball slider, and they started just staying outside or inside, really. I was not closing myself off. I was letting it fly, and they were opening up. Kenley actually had a very similar problem, and he wasn't able. And with the cutter, if that's backing up the other way, it's going to end up being flat. And when you only pitch as the cutter, and you're not Mariano Rivera, and you're not closing off, you're going to have issues. He instituted this, this little move here, which reminds him to stay closed. I have my own mental things now that I do that remind me to stay closed and finish off. I make sure I reach for something to make sure I finish. And I got to tell you, it makes a world of difference. He also added damn near 3 pitches. He now throws a changeup, slider, and a sinker. A 4-pitch closer. He completely remodeled his game. It took him about 1.5 years of ego to be like, no, like, I'm not changing. I'm not doing this. I am Kenley Jansen. I'm a great closer. To finally be like, okay, if I want to keep this job, I'm going to have to make a change. And a lot of times in any profession, that's really tough to do when your skill set changes as you age. For starting pitcher, for hitter, anything. But he went within himself and was like, obviously it's not working anymore. Like, it's not just a stint. And he added 3 pitches at his age and at his caliber. Yeah. Kenley Jansen added 3 pitches.
I think he's now a starting pitcher. Kenley.
I mean, he damn near could. He's now set up, I think, to have a really good second half of his career because he decided to do that, and I'm excited for it. Hope he stays with the Dodgers.
I agree. He's been doing it for such a long time too, and props to him for adjusting too.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I guess do you want to go to starting pitchers now? If we're really going to save the shortstops for last.
We also have designated hitter. I have at least I have one.
We do. Let's run through DH then.
Okay. Want to go first?
I can go first. So, again, another positional difference that we had. I had Jorge Soler as my number 1 DH.
Mm.
Again, that's what Spotrac listed him as, and a few other sites did as well. So I had him as my DH. And then from there, Nelly effing Cruz. Nelson Cruz, just an absolute stud muffin. I mean, the guy is amazing. Amazing. And then from there, Chris Davis. No, not that Chris Davis. The KH-RIS Davis. KHRIS Davis. And then Albert Pujols because, I just threw him in there because, he can't play first much longer. And Albert Pujols, I got to keep him in there. I got to put him in the list.
He's got to retire. He really does.
He does. He really does.
It's a sad story with Albert. I have one player on my list, most underrated and best player. Nelly fucking Cruz. Don't want to hear nothing about it, top 1% in max exit velocity last year at the age of 41. Top 5% in hard hit rate. He's hitting the ball hard 52.5% of the time. That's more than half the time he swings the bat. He's hitting the ball really hard, which means like over 90 miles an hour. By the way, that's insanity.
Just think about that.
He hit 32 bombs with a 334 on base percentage. He's still getting on base almost 35% of the time at the age of 41. His name is Nelly fucking Cruz. I'm not going to say another word on it. Sign the man. Give him a 10-year contract. Stop playing around with it. 10 years. 10 years, I want.
Man, he's going to be the next. He's going to be Tom Brady of baseball.
He already is. How old's Tom Brady? How old is he?
It's like 43, I think.
Okay. Is he that? He's 43. Nelly's only 2 years behind him.
Yeah. That's wild.
That's it. Nelly's here.
Oh, I couldn't say it any better myself. Nelly Cruz. So let's move on to the starting pitching market, where I have a very long list, if I'm being honest with you. And yes, you'll be hearing all of it because I made the list. Everybody's going to hear it.
I want to hear it.
You want to hear it? You want me to go first?
I have a very short list, so you should.
Well, so this is in order. Okay. The first one, this might surprise some people if they haven't really been paying attention. But the number 1 starting pitcher that is a free agent this year, who I think is going to continue his success that he had this year, is none other than Long Island boy Marcus Stroman.
Like
I
that.
agree. He has the it factor. He's got the swagger. Not everybody loves it. I personally am a big fan. He's small, like 5'7", all right? He doesn't rely on speed. He relies on movement of his pitches. He is a baseball player. He thinks the game beautifully. Solid hitter when they let him hit. Even stole a base this year. Stroman, great player. If you're seeing this, Marcus, by the way, huge fan. I think Stroman is gonna get paid. I hope it's by the Mets. I have a feeling it's not gonna be by the Mets, but I hope it is. Again, I think he's the best pitcher on this market. Then from there, we go to Mad Max Scherzer. Need I say more? Max Scherzer. The name speaks for itself, and we know he won't be auditioning as a closer because that didn't work out so well. He's a starting pitcher. And then next on the list, well, he may not be as good as some of the other guys he's ahead of, but name brand, near and dear to your heart, Clayton Kershaw.
May not be as good. What is this guy talking about? Go ahead, say more. Come on, say something
Clayton
good.
Kershaw
Oh.
did not get offered a qualifying offer, but
Bullshit.
his injury, I wouldn't be surprised if he retires this offseason, if I'm being honest. I hope he doesn't for your case and mine. He's 33, 34 years old.
30, 32, 33.
Already a Hall of Famer. The Dodgers said that they have a spot for him if he wants to come back. I also saw something he might go to the Rangers because that's where he's from, right around there. I hope not. Anyway, from there, Noah Thor Syndergaard. A lot of upside with him. Also got a qualifying offer. I think he's going to accept it. You're still upset about Clayton. It's let it out. Maybe put yourself on mute, but let it out. Oh boy. And then from there, Noah Syndergaard to go to Robbie Ray, Zach Greinke, Eduardo Rodriguez, Kevin Gossman, Carlos Rodon, and Anthony DeScalafani. Scalafani, yeah, how do you pronounce it? That's my list.
I go Desclafani with it. What the? I heard Kevin Gossman 15 seconds ago. What was he, fucking 13, Sean?
He is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 on my list.
I don't agree. That's all I'm going to say on the matter. I'm too upset to say more. Kevin Gossman's really good.
Yeah. Now, who is your top? Is it Clayton? Clayton Kershaw?
I'm going to give my I'm gonna give my underrated pitcher. Unfortunately, he was already given a lot of FaceTime. Apparently, he's the best pitcher all of a sudden now. Marcus Stroman.
Yeah.
For a lot of the reasons
go.
highlighted, he's a gamer. Okay?
I swear, there's no bias between us. You know, we're just saying.
From New York. He's a gamer. Okay, he's the guy you want in a wild card game, playoff series. He's Marcus Stroman. Okay, he's gonna have sub-3 ERA. He doesn't really get a lot of strikeouts. Pitches to contact, ground ball guy. Gamer. That's it. That's all there is to it. Another.
Also, have you ever seen his dad, Earl Stroman?
Oh my God, hell of a man.
I mean, I think he's a Suffolk County police officer. I'm just saying, if I ever got pulled over, I think I would start to cry.
Right.
The man is about as jacked as you can possibly be.
Can't get more jacked than that. No. My other. Can't think of the word anymore. Sean, can you help? Yeah,
Starting pitcher, underrated starting.
Underrated. Yeah, I'm very upset here. Is Kwang Young Kim. I'm a big fan of Kwang Young Kim. Came in last year, pitched 8 games to the tune of a 1.62 ERA. I had a 3.5 ERA this year, and I think he had some bad luck with it too. I think if he gets 30 full starts, he's with the Cardinals right now. If he gets another 30 full starts with whatever team he goes to, I think you're going to see not an all-star type pitcher, but a borderline. We're talking like a 3.3, with 200 plus innings. Just a guy, really solid guy. 2.5 in a rotation, maybe even a 2. And he's not being thought of as such. Listen, guys, plain and simple, the best fucking free agent pitcher is what it is. Like, what do you want me to tell you? It's the flamethrower, okay? He's throwing 91 now. 91. How much faster do you want him to throw? Let me do something for you here, so I can
There
get
you
everyone,
go.
I can get everyone a good view of it. Let's get out of vacation and just show you what it looks like. Okay, this is the greatest pitcher of all time. I don't care if he's 95 years old. From now until his death, he'll be the best pitcher on the free agent market. Okay, last year, yeah, battled through injuries again. What else is new? Clayton Kershaw these days, right?
Yeah.
However, he had a shit year and still had like a 3.4. I mean, a shit year. He hadn't been over 3 since like 2009. I don't want to hear another peep ski out of anybody. He looked really good in 2020. He looked very decent in the playoffs. And just injuries caught up to him again. I think he has a lot more in the tank. I do think there's a shot he retires. Just based on how many injuries he's had to endure.
Yeah.
Does he want to keep playing through these injuries? I might not. If I was Clayton, I had the resume. I finally got my World Series, and every time I go out there, I'm just hurt. Like I'm not feeling well.
Yeah.
And I have 3 young kids at home. I get it 100%. But I think he still has a lot of value that he could give to someone. That's my opinion.
Said so beautifully. So, drum roll, please. The shortstop position, which is absolutely loaded. And it's less one name. It would have been Francisco Lindor had he not signed a mega deal with the Mets. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to let you start. I think I know who you're going to say, and I think we're going to agree on this one. But go ahead and tell me who the best shortstop of this free agent class is. Potentially historic free agent class.
Yeah, I mean, guys, it's Carlos Correa. Okay, it is. You stupid pieces of garbage, Carlos Correa.
Oh, that's a funny one.
Look at your face, you stupid. Oh, everybody watching, you're stupid. If you think it's Carlos Correa, you're stupid. Okay, stupido. Listen to me right now. I'll tell you who and why. Corey Seager, baby Siegs. Let me tell you why he got hurt. Okay, I bet on him to win MVP this year. That's on me. I put that bet down, injured almost immediately. Okay, that's how things work for me.
You're a mush.
I think he wins MVP this year. I really do. Other than Juan Soto, I think he is the best hitter in baseball. That's my honest to God opinion. There could be bias, but the numbers don't skew that far from that being the fact.
Yeah.
He had 366 with 8 homers in September last year. Was the 1 month he was healthy last year. Okay, so I don't even think that if he hit 335 with 40 bombs, I know he's never done it before, but in the spurts where he's been healthy, that's pretty much what he projects at. And I know we're talking like Tulowitzki here, and I hated Tulowitzki for this fact.
Oh.
But he's just got so much talent, the guy. And he slumped for almost all of 2021, and he finished 306 with a 394 on base percentage.
Yeah.
I mean, that's absolutely insanity. And clutch, a leader.
Oh, absolutely.
The personality fits any organization. He's a ball player. He comes to the field every single day. Huge kid, strong kid. It's just, if he didn't have health issues, I think he would be thought of a lot. He'd be thought of like within the top 5 player of the game conversation. The health has been a problem. You can't ignore that. But if you're telling me I'm getting a full season out of the guy, it's Corey Seager all day, every day, even on Sunday.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'll give you my list. It starts with Corey Seager, obviously. We agree on a lot of it. But when Corey Seager, now this second one might be surprising to some people. Marcus Semien, number 2.
Like
From there, Carlos Correa.
Oh.
Carlos Correa.
Oh.
Then Trevor Story. Then Javier Baez.
Mm-hmm.
Javi, as his friends call him. And then Andrelton Simmons and Freddie Galvis. Now, since we both agreed on who the best is, I'm going to give you my underrated, and I pray to God we don't have the same one.
We might if he wasn't on that list right there.
He was on the list.
He was?
Yeah.
We have a different guy.
Andrelton Simmons.
Like it.
Andrelton Simmons is a guy who believe it or not, actually, how old do you think Andrelton Simmons is right now?
33.
Close, 31. He's been in the league for 10 years. Now, when he first came up with the Braves, great defender, absolutely exquisite. I don't say the word often, exquisite at shortstop. But hitting wasn't great. Since then, his hitting's come around. He actually had a few years where he hit close to or at 300. He hit above 300. Never. He hit close to 300 4 times in his career, 10-year career. Interesting. Yeah, Andrelton Simmons is just an underrated guy. He still a great defender and kind of got lost out there in LA, the Angels, that is. But yeah, I think he's a better player than people give him credit for.
Yeah, can't disagree whatsoever. Other than the fact that my underrated player is a little bit different. I'm going with Jose Iglesias. All right. Shortened season last year, he hit 370. Now that doesn't mean much. Just wanted to throw it out there. Last year he hit 270. In 2019 he hit 288. I think he's somewhere in between there. I think he's a 280 hitter. Very similar to Starlin Castro. He's got an 85th percentile in strikeout whiff rate, similar to Mark Canha. Guy does not swing if it's outside the zone, and he doesn't swing and miss. And he had a down defensive year last year, meaning that he was league average. That's what down means for Jose Iglesias. But, I mean, the eye test is still there. The guy was an elite defender just a year ago.
Yeah.
He's getting older, so that definitely could be, like, deteriorating. But the guy's made some plays like you've never seen before. I mean, certainly if he's not going to start for you at short, he can definitely platoon, be a defensive replacement. And you can do a lot of stuff for a ball club. Just someone that I would like on my team.
I remember when he got traded to the Detroit Tigers for like 2012. I was like, who is this guy? And you were like, this guy's for real. He can play defense. And I didn't even know who he was, but you told me. And that has rung true. I like that. I like that underrated pick. I really do.
I appreciate it.
So,
wraps up
ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up our picks, or not picks, rankings, lists in some regards, not lists in others. But yeah, this was a longer episode, but we appreciate you sticking on with us here. So just to give you a heads up, we're doing weekly podcasts, no more 2 or 3 times a week. Maybe once the season gets going, we'll do more frequently, but in the off season, we'll do once a week. And as always, please follow us on Instagram at the 10th Inning Podcast, and then on YouTube at the 10th Inning Pod, as I believe pod, right? Yep. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Please leave comments on our videos. We greatly appreciate that. Hey, if you want us to cover something, have a question for us, a theoretical trade, signing, whatnot, put that in the comments, Instagram, YouTube, and we will address it. And hey, if anybody wants to come on as a guest, let us know and we can work things out. The more the merrier. We don't bite.
100%. Don't speak for me.
Yeah.
Regardless, like Shawnee said, this is definitely more of a longer winded podcast. As we transition to the off season, we're trying to figure out how can we hit that 30 to 45 minute mark and what amount of content we're going to need to do so. Again, we only had one topic and we were able to go, I don't know how, an hour plus, right? So our goal is the 30 to 45 minute podcast. So I'm sorry if this was too long for you. Break it up into 2 sections for yourself. That's our goal. So we'll be trying to hit that more often. Just some technical issues we're trying to figure out. Sean comes on here with a fucking list. I mean, I can only do so much, guys. I can only do so much.
I was just trying to go the extra mile for you, the listeners.
For you fans at home. And shoot him a thank you. And go like this post on Instagram for him for that.
Absolutely.
But I think that's going to wrap it up. This is the 9th inning of the 10th inning, right? We're only got one more inning left.
Yeah. New name. Coming soon.
Next week we'll be going extra innings with the 10th episode of the 10th inning. We'll see you there. Don't miss out.